Hello, I am Yumma Mudra. This is the fourth video of #IDS Mudra about ground, path, and fruit from body, speech, and mind. We are actually speaking about a mindset to start your journey, because the journey, of course, it's always very difficult to say that you could separate one thing from the other, because it's not possible. It's just a way of pointing out how to organize our mindset in order to keep on motivated and to keep on strong along the journey. Because things are sometimes easy, sometimes things are difficult. Life has surprises, good ones, bad ones, no? And the mindset in the Dharma is very important, because you can at one point become very steady on your journey and very resilient. Actually, there is even a proof of this, is that if you look at how people who have a strong spiritual mindset and a structure of seeing the world with that kind of mindset and motivation, they have a much stronger resilience towards times of challenges. But also, it is also helpful to succeed in this becoming friend of yourself, which is very important in my point of view to start with. And also, it has been pointed out by Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, my root guru, that it is very important to be friend to yourself. And I could say that actually this is really what I experience. I feel that I, at this point of my life, I'm able to trust in myself, which doesn't mean that I cannot have made mistakes or make mistakes. It doesn't mean I'm always right and all over powerful, but it does mean that I really feel that all my experience of the Dharma is really worthy, and that I'm so grateful and so very happy. Lately, actually, my partner, Michel Raji, has been in a place, it's kind of a secret place where I spent time in retreat when I was young. And it's very important sensation, no? That actually I never asked him to do that, but he went to that place and sent me pictures and film, and he has been dancing there and performing some rituals of how he works with his vibration and his dance and his choreographic creativity. And it's very touching, and at the same time it did bring a synchronicity in my life, which made that the very same day he arrived at that cabin and sent me the first pictures is the same day I met an old friend that she used to live in that same place, not in the cabin where I was, but in the same complex of buildings in the mountains in France. And actually, she told me at that moment that she conceived her daughter in that place just before I was there in retreat. So you see the coincidences, very strong ones. And it's not so much because you are caught in the nostalgia of your past or anything like that. It's more that at one point you feel grateful that you could receive all these teachings and you could have time to dedicate yourself to that, and it was so much worth. I don't know if it's an effort, because in my case it was not an effort, because I was really so much very, very happy that I could practice instead of being in the craziness of the world of people that since I was a child I didn't understand why people were living like that. I didn't really understand why the mindset was about making money or about having a house or about making a career, because of course all of these things are very nice, it's no problem, but I really felt there was something more to it, more to the core of the being. And the truth is that in my case, I feel very happy nowadays that I dedicated all these years in this never stopping my path of the Dharma in this direction. And that is thanks to the grounding in the view, because the view is really very important. Of course, as I said in one of these videos, the view is going to change as you go along the path, because the more you get rid of whatever is an obstacle, the more you are close to the immediate path, that the fruit is the path and the fruit is the ground. But in the beginning, it's not like that. No, in the beginning, we have lots of instability, and sometimes our body and mind are not synchronized. Sometimes our emotions are completely like, like a horse that just goes wherever he wants, and you're on his back, hoping that at one moment you could agree with the horse to go in the same place. And your energy just go like that and like that. And nowadays it's not very easy, because there's a lot of different, I would say, motivation to, of course, in the good sense, but not always only in the good sense, also in the commercial sense, to tell people what to do and what they should do and what they need. And actually, in the view of the Dharma, it is a little bit different than the idea that you could, of course, use meditation or yoga or the growing of your inner power to be successful in the world. It's not really the idea of the view in Dharma. The view in Dharma is that, of course, if that is useful for your path and for others, it can happen that you do become, as we would call, successful, in the sense of having lots of fame, lots of money, lots of praises, everybody loves you. But lots of the examples of the best of all masters and the best of all yogis and yoginis are people that did spend a lot of time running away from the fame and the success and even the wealth. And in my case, it's true that I have always been attracted to these people, mostly because of their poetry, but also because of how inspired I have felt always of reading the stories of their life and living with them inside of my own mindset, because I really feel, I could dream that I dreamt a few times of Milarepa, for example. I could dream that I am with Milarepa in a place, things like that. Milarepa, if you don't know him, is one of the great, most famous saint of the Tibetan Buddhist history. He used to sing. He was very famous for his voice. Actually, his real name was Nice to Hear, Tupaga. He brings joy listening to his voice. And he sang, everything he's taught was in the poetry and the songs. And these songs have been kept alive until today, or really alive, but then some people wrote them down. And they are very inspiring, and they are translated in many languages. So all of this is wonderful, and that's today. And they are examples that are very wonderful, because, like in the case of Milarepa, for example, he had a very difficult beginning of his life, and he did to satisfy the need of revenge that his mother felt, because since he was very young and his father died of illness, they lost him, his sister, and his mother, all their belongings, because instead of honoring the will of his dying father, his family took all the belongings from them and made them become slaves. So it was extremely dramatic. But his mother was also really caught in hate, and she asked her son to dedicate himself to become a black magician. And he became very powerful as a black magician, and he did kill people and destroy the village, or at least to destroy the food that was possible to raise in that village, because he was able to change the weather. So he could make the weather destroy all the food that was growing. And then he got really he got very much sorry, and he felt also very afraid of samsara, because, you know, he was like basic Tibetans, they knew about samsara and about what we're going to talk today, karma. And it's very important, because even if at one point you do reach a sensation that you can be completely free from samsara and completely free from karma, it's not that you are free from the consequences of your act. It's more that you can live at a level of mindset that is not underneath the laws of karma, because you are not anymore driven by ego-centered kind of motivations. Rather, these be of the fear, or rather these be of the hope, which we call them in two categories. No, I would like so much to get this, or I don't want to have that. So in these two categories, and then the third one is that you just ignore, either willingly, either just because you don't understand, you ignore the true nature of things and the true nature of yourself. So the whole path is about discovering that true nature. So it is not really that you're going somewhere else than where you are already, but sometimes you find yourself in the traveling, no, don't you? In the pilgrimage. That's where you can maybe get rid of all the things that are not needed, and then find the core of your natural nature of yourself, and be friend with yourself all along that path. So we are still in the very beginning of that construction of the view. And so we understand that on one hand, there is really consequences to whatever it is we do and we think and we also say, body, speech, and mind, and that the consequences will create a karma. But it is important to understand that whatever you are living is in the same time the consequence of karma in different aspects of all the karma that is working together in that situation, that all the things that make that at one point. For example, I am here with this body, this age. I have my cat just next to us. He's here making his yeah. You see, he's making his little toilet. And there is causes and condition that brings us there. And in the same time, it is a consequence of the karma, but it is also the beginning of the next karma. So it's always happening all the time. So that is really about when we are caught in duality, because we still really believe so much, I am me, the cat is him, and we have, it's like in our guts, no? We have these little things in our guts that make us, even if we do understand that there is something beyond that first degree belief, about me and the other, they love me, they don't love me, I need this, I wish this, I don't want that, I fear this, I fear that. Even if we know there's something beyond that, that we do have access to that sometimes, even it could be several times a day, but the rest of the day maybe we just get, caught. If somebody tells me something nasty, I get angry, or maybe I pretend it's okay, but actually I don't feel really like it's okay. Or maybe I just say something that I shouldn't have said that was going to hurt somebody. Maybe I don't even be aware of it, but it will have consequences. Or if I'm aware, it will also have consequences. So all of these things, it's... So it's very important not to become completely hysterical about checking on yourself all the time, but you do need a little bit of criticism, auto-criticism, because if you don't have any, you cannot get rid of the habitual tendencies that are rooted even in our biological habits, because lots of our habits are really in the body itself. So this is something we will work on later, because as I told you, Carolina is going to come, Carolina Fonseca, the dancer of Danza Duende Network and master dancer, who has worked with me for now very long, like 30 years now, I think, or 25, something like that. And she will help me make a few movies, hopefully about some work you can do with your body and your breath. That would be the ones that I could publish. I'm not going to publish things that should not, in my point of view, be published for everybody, but little things we could. So in our body, we have these habitual tendencies which are very much there. So of course, when you work with your body, they can wake up, like memories wake up, things wake up, even reactions wake up that we didn't even know about, because it's like kind of memories that are there. And thanks to the practice and thanks to a little bit of effort, but it's an effort that you just do it steadily, like we said, like how the plants can grow inside of the stones. Don't exert yourself that much that you get completely fed up with your practice and just throw all of it to the garbage because you became completely, I would say, kind of burned out by your own excess of using your energy too much, or even having too much expectation is not very good, because very often the beginning of the path can show things that are not always that much wonderfully marvelous, which is a good sign actually, because you do discover things that were kind of under the carpet, when you clean your house. So all this to tell you that we were with this book. I told you about this book, which is The Words of My Perfect Teacher of Paltrul Rinpoche. And that I will slowly, when I have time, go under the YouTube books and the YouTube, videos, and recommend books or links. And I will slowly put more of these. So if you are... if you could apply to my YouTube channel, that's better. So each time I will change something or put something, you may have a notification. That's how they call it, no? Notification. And so we already talked about the impermanence and about the precious human body. These are the four very traditional in the Tibetan path, the four thoughts that going to help one to take the path as priority. So this is really important, because when you understand which are your priorities, and in this case it's really easy because it's always the same priority, so you don't have to think twice, you know what priority is yours. And so it's much easier to go in the directions that are appropriate to your own decisions. So you don't feel completely, how you say in English, like a boat that has no way of directing itself. It just goes with the flow. But sometimes, if you are in a boat in the middle of the ocean and you don't have any ways of directing your boat, well, maybe you're lucky, but it could end up that you just, don't make it, So in this case, you know what is your path, what is your, what are you working with, how are you working with yourself. So don't forget, it's very much about oneself with ourselves. It's not about others, that they are guilty of what you do and you don't do, that they should give you everything you need, or you should approve that the master is such a great person, and then you get deceived because you think the master should not have done that, should not have... That's not like that. It doesn't work like that, It works with the fact that you appreciate so much what you receive that you start to slowly develop a little bit of this pure perception, which is kind of the last part of the path. When your pure perception starts to really be a true thing in your life, it's a little bit like some kind of the gift of children. Maybe not all children, but I remember I, as a children, at least that's what I can remember best, I used to really see very easily the beauty of people and things, even if there were a lot of drama around me. So this pure vision is that it's not that you're stupid and you don't see the defects of the world. It's not like that. It's not that you don't have critical mind. It's just that you are not under the pollution of your critical mind. Your critical mind is just a tool that you use when you need to cut a cheese, for example. You're not cutting other people's fingers, you're just cutting your cheese. So the critical mind is like a knife. But you also have this critical mind that helps you to understand, well, I did this yesterday, but maybe that's not the best way to do things. So I'm going to find another way of doing it, exactly like you would do with a technique of driving your car, or technique of dance, or technique of music, or technique of singing, or everything you do. You're not too much aware of yourself all the time, but you do have a little bit of mindfulness towards how can you devolve merit, how can you become a person that is creating this pure vision thanks to your own generosity, thanks to your own ethical possibilities. How could you develop patience? What is patience? What is it to meditate and to always go through everything that happens, that you exert yourself? These are the paramitas, the 6 paramitas. And so at the end, how could you reach wisdom, the prajna, thanks to this generosity, this ethical, this patience, this exertion, this steadful meditation, and reach the level that you do have access to some wisdom. Yeah. So it's a little bit like everything else, no? When you learn how to play an instrument, you repeat a lot of times the touching of the instrument, and then slowly it becomes natural, and you can play the instrument completely inspired by the music, or even you could invent the music. But first you needed to have this relationship, no, with how does it go from your own being to the instrument, and back from the sound of this instrument back to yourself. And that this becomes at one point a possibility of creating something that is a vibration good for the world, for example. So this is what I'm talking about when I say the idea of exertion, and of looking how could you notice that in this case I said something to somebody, maybe it was not very skillful, maybe it was not good for that person, maybe not good for me, and how can I find a way to express with that person that does not hurt the person, and does not also, of course, hurt specifically my own mind, my own meteo, how do I feel inside of myself. So this was a long introduction. I'm not going to talk much more about the 4, because we only have 2 to describe here. After the precious human body and the impermanence. Of course, if you look for different books and for different teachings, there are many of them about these topics, because these are the basic topics. But also it's obvious in your life. So you can obviously see that having a human body could be extremely honorable, extremely enhanced. You could find that there is a kind of greatness in the state of being a decent person, a decent human being. There is something very wonderful about that. It is also a responsibility, and in the same time it is sensitive. So you as a human being, you are sensitive to the welfare of others. That is a normal function of our brains, actually. So this is how you start to feel that there is some kind of a feeling of, putting your shoulders, open your shoulders and put your head up on your shoulders, and you could straighten yourself up, not by forcing your back, but by feeling your body with this goodness. And that is very important. And so are you free, as we talked about in the other videos, so you can refer to the other videos if you like to hear more about that. How is the freedom and how is the precious human being linked to the possibility of freeing yourself from ignorance and freeing yourself from duality in general. And then the impermanence, which is the fact that everything that is brought together will fall apart, everything that is born will die, and everything that we have we will lose, and everything that we have now is subject to disappear at one point. And the people also we love can also leave. It can happen at any moment, and that we are aware of that. I'm not inviting us to to be depressed about that. I'm more inviting all of us to cherish this very moment in the sense of giving sense to your life by practicing as much as possible all the time. It's mindfulness, as we say, all the time. Yeah. I think he likes it when we do this. He usually comes when we do that talking. Jigme. Because when you understand that everything does fall apart anyway, whatever happens, because when you are young, I remember when I was young, I thought I would live forever. I was completely superwoman. And then at one point, the superwoman thing just didn't work anymore. And then it became really scary, because I did have lots of bad healthy issues. And then I did also live very dramatic things around me, but also myself. And I started to understand that it's so much true. It's so very true, that everything that we have and all these good conditions we have, to use them now, because otherwise we're going to lose time with that good moment and that good conditions we have, and we're not sure we will have them all the time. So it's very important to use them in a good way. So this is the sense of impermanence, but also that we understand it is the truth. And it is obviously the truth. And so it's also easier to help others. Sometimes helping others when they lose somebody or they are very sad. Sometimes it's that you are present, that you are not telling them how to feel at all. That doesn't work, but that you are not yourself completely depressed about this sadness. You're not driven away by the sadness. And in the same time, you are sensitive as a human being is when he is healthy, psychologically. So you do feel the pain of others in yourself, and in the same time, you are not driving away. You're not completely under the power of this sadness or of this drama. So you are able to be helpful thanks to that. It is very important because we could be in situations where people are not okay, and we could maybe be the only person able to help. That could happen. So it's also, this kind of meditation really helps. But you understand that one thing doesn't last. No, it's not what I meant in English, excuse me. One thing does not end or get destroyed, which is the nature of your own mind, the nature of your being, the deepest nature, is completely like diamond-like, indestructible. So this is something that you will feel when you get in the path, thanks to the practice. At one moment, maybe the practice is, oh, I'm so confused, oh, I'm so like this, like that. And then at one point you get into your practice and you really, really get into it, because at that moment, everything gets aligned and you feel, at one point you feel this nature which is indestructible, because it is not something solid, because it is not me as an ego. It is really the nature of the consciousness itself. It's not destructible because it is not in the realm of materialistic form that can be destroyed. But it is our own root. That's what we are. Understand? So when then they talk about samsara and karma, so I'm going to make it short. It's linked, of course, because samsara in the Tibetan Buddhism is, in India also actually, is represented as the sixth world. So it's sixth world. You have a wheel, and inside of the wheel you have like three animals. It's a snake, a rooster, and the pig. So the pig for ignorance, not knowing our own nature. The snake for anger, like being reactive in the sense of the quick reaction, like the snake when he comes like that, And the rooster, which is the tendency to jump on all the lady chickens all the time, which is a symbol more for the fact that we get caught into the desire, but much more the grasping to desire. The desire itself is not exactly the topic. The topic is the grasping into that desire. And so you have around these the fact that it goes up and down. So somehow it's symbolic on the wheel that you go up and then you go down and then you go up. And so you do good things and you go up. And then when you get the top, you have good situations, but you don't use these situations to get awakened. You stay in the realm always of materialistic gain, which is always the same thing: fame, that people praise you, that you get wealthy, and that you get like important, and everything you desire comes to you. So this is how you're going to waste all the merit and woof, go back down. And that is quite dramatic, because the world that are down on the wheel are very painful. So you have three worlds up: the God world is a place where you live a very long time. You are beautiful, everybody's beautiful, everything is wonderful, we have everything we want, and we can become quite easily lazy, and we can also become a little bit arrogant, because we have this sense that everything is just there and we get it, so we don't understand what it is very often for people to live in difficult situations, because it's not our case. And as a god and a goddess, we come to a point where after a very long time that the merit is finished and we die. And just before we're going to die, we start to foresee how the body is going to decay, how the good smell is going to become bad smell, and how the life is going to become death, and the wealth is going to become maybe no more wealth, don't know. It's because as a god, we have the ability to foresee the future. So this is the suffering of the gods, of losing all the best of the top 10 way of life is lost. And then on the upper part of the samsara wheel, you have the human beings, which are considered to be the best place in this wheel to start and succeed on the path to be awakened and to reach your Buddha nature. Because the human are not suffering too much and they are not happy too much. They are always a little bit like insatisfied. Kind of, the human being is kind of always curious about trying to find out what is lack, what is the lacking thing that I want, that I'm looking for? Why did I come here and where am I going and all these things, you know? And so that makes the human beings at one point be in a condition of life that is able to be smart enough to practice, and in the same time good enough to have empathy and to be sensitive to the suffering of beings. And so these two qualities make the human being very much competent to reach enlightenment. You have the animal, excuse me, before I go to the animal, you have the warriors also on the top. And the warriors in this case, they are people who are in war with the gods, and they are people who do have food, and they do have house, and they do have a way of life. They have a statute in society because they are like generals or warriors. They are admired by the society. But as their mind is always driven by competition and by evaluation, so it's the kind of mindset that is always trying to see who is up and who is down, competition, and also ambition. But usually we want to get something. And in the case of the Asura, they want to get something that the gods have. So they are fighting. And their mind is about always the battle. So it is a kind of suffering because it does lead to get into aggression that does lead to hell. So it is, of course, all of these words we find in our own human condition. You find the gods. They are like these people that are very rich, and they have all these beautiful places and lots of possessions, and they can go on a satellite, and then they can go on an island. It's their own island, and they can invite lots of people, and they can have the best clothes and the best this and the best that, whatever. So this is the god realms. And then the Asura realms, it's like people who are jealous of the gods because maybe the gods, they use, for example, the oil that comes from their country, but they don't have that oil for themselves, things like that, you know? But it can be also in your own life. You can feel that at one moment you're like a god, at one moment you have everything you wished for, and then maybe at another moment you're jealous. Maybe because you practice, you start to see you were jealous, maybe you didn't realize that you were jealous. And then you start to find out, because of the teachings and of being together and friend with yourself, you find out that actually you do have jealousy. And you will find out how to work with that, because it does really work. If you are a good practitioner, it works to transform emotions. We will get into that. It really works, yeah. But the transformation of these emotions, they take some work and they take some obstination. And you can really succeed in that if you are obsessed and always working on yourself. In this sense, I told you, of friendship with yourself. So it's a good sense. You're not exhausting yourself. You're not thinking bad things about yourself. You're just finding how the techniques help you to let go of things that are not your real true nature. Yeah. So the human being has these of the god and of the warriors. We find it very easily in politics, in our world, but also in our daily life, in our dreams also. And then you can also find in your dreams the hell. So the hells are usually called 8 cold hells and 8 hot hells. So they are described very precisely, places where you suffer very, very, very much. And it's not easy because you can be in a hell in which you won't die that easily, and time seems to be long. We know that when we suffer, time is long. And the cold hell is more related to this state of mind that are very frozen, and the heat are more related to, of course, the hot anger and hatred. And you have also the peripheric hells, which are hells that are a little bit like you could suffer in a certain way. Like, for example, it could happen that you suffer only at night and not during the day because of karmic depth. So like, imagine that in one of your life there is a story like that of a butcher who promised, the Buddha told him he could improve his condition, and he as a butcher, he said he could not let go of being a butcher because anyway, that's how he could feed his family and live his life, karma. But the Buddha said, yes, you can improve, like if you promise not to kill any animal, not to harm any animal, from the end of your workday until the day after when you work again. That is a lapse of time that you promised not to, and you won't. And so you are improving your karma. And so in this case, in this story, the butcher would be born in this kind of hell where he was going to suffer during the daytime, but not during the nighttime. Because he did create the causes and the conditions to find, it's like if you could find a gap in that world that you're entangled into killing and into being killed, but then you find a gap and you create a gap because you made this wish, I will not kill from when the sun sets until the sun rises, because I'm a butcher, I cannot let go of that work, but I would like to let go of it, I would like to practice, I would like to not kill animals anymore, and at least I'm not killing them from this time to this time, and I promise. So it does create merit, but the merit, of course, is not enough to avoid that all these animals were slaughtered and suffered because of your way of life, but it is enough to create the gap that you could free yourself from this condition in future lives. And so this is the hell. The hell in Buddhism is very much like a hell in other religions. It's just that it's never eternal. Never, never, ever anything is eternal. We don't have this idea that something is eternal because we don't have the idea that duality is the true nature. And so on the 6 realms that are on the bottom of the wheel, you have also the ghost. So this is like, imagine if you are used to always feel unsatisfied, to always complain, to be very grasping to things, or grasping to your house, to your belongings, or maybe always grasping to food, or always having this sense that you never have enough of anything, not enough love, you don't have enough food, you don't have enough respect, you don't have enough consideration, or whatever it is. So that can create this condition of your mind that if you die, you are born as a ghost, because the grasping is so strong that maybe you don't even notice you're dead. There is a very good movie about that called The Others, with Nicole Kidman, where she is a family of ghosts, but actually she doesn't know she's a ghost. She thinks she's really still human. But then slowly she gets in the movie to understand that actually not only she's a ghost, but actually she did kind of create the condition of that horrible situation in which she is in that movie. I don't tell you because the movie is really nice. It's a little bit a difficult movie because it's scary, but it's a good movie. So the ghost. So you have different kinds of ghosts, but they are usually symbolized by the fact that, for example, the stomach is very big and the throat is too small. Or maybe the fact that whatever you would take to eat becomes something that looks delicious, and then when you put it inside, it's not good, or it's poison, or maybe it's even burning, or maybe it's horrible. So there is this relationship with craving, with eagerness, that becomes so strong that you are born in a state like that, of always feeling eagerness. And it is a state that is not completely physical. It is kind of astral. So it's like being a caught in the middle, no? You are reborn as a being that haunts the others. So that's the preta in Sanskrit. But of course, we can also find it in normal life. Like, in example, when I was a teenager, I did have this thing of always craving for food. And it was very weird because I could eat, and I was never satisfied, because as much as I would eat was never enough, you know? So it can be also the opposite. Like somebody of my family had the opposite, which was to not eat at all and then become completely like a skeleton from not eating and almost dying of that, you know. So these conditions are in the human condition the same thing, but it can also become this kind of a state of mind in which you're always feeling complaining about yourself, and you complain, and then you wish people really that they have pity of you, and that if they have the pity of you, you feel like more pity. It's like you never feel enough, that people are saying, "Ah, poor you," you know, this complaining syndrome, which is very strong nowadays on social media, no? Because it looks like if it becomes some kind of a never-ending, no, process of feeling sorry for oneself, and that the others will tell you, "Oh, poor thing," and then it goes on like that. And it cannot stop if you don't let go of that state of mind. And so the last one is animals. The animals suffer a lot of fighting each other, of fighting for food, of eating each other. And of course, they suffer so much of what human beings do to them, which is absolutely horrible. It's terrible. And yeah, it's very, very dramatic. And then they also can suffer of the fact that maybe they would like, I feel that with my animals, they would like to reach something, but in the same time, their mind is not clear about how they could do that. So in this case, human beings, we can really help the animals very much, because we can inspire them to become bodhisattvas in a new life. We can talk to them, tell them mantras. But we ourselves behave like animals so often when we are completely very, very lazy. And then we become, you drag your own body to the fridge, from the fridge to the TV, from the TV to the phone, to talk with somebody for hours about something that is just maybe not very useful at all. And so that's kind of an animal behavior. So the 6 realms are related to the emotions, and they are some kind of a karmic production. So that's why we have to link them with the law of karma. The law of karma is how can you create merit, and how do you do that? It's because you understand how to not perform what hurts and what creates suffering. So like killing, for example. So killing creates suffering, not killing creates merit. By the body, like having a sexual behavior that could be aggressive or could be abusive or could be also somehow not respecting your own mind or your own inner energy, like some kind of something that makes your mind go a little bit in the heaviness of pleasure. So that kind of sexual energy makes you suffer, makes others suffer, but also that having relationship with people who are engaged. It's not that Buddhists are moralistic, it's more that if somebody is engaged and you have sex with that person, and the other person is engaged with, will end up suffering. And you will end up suffering also, usually. And so you have also not taken what is not given to you, like to steal, the robbery. So these are the 3 of the body that you can avoid. And the 4 of the speech is that maybe you don't insult people, maybe you don't talk bad things about them, slander them, maybe you don't lie. Doesn't mean you have to spell out all the truth, because sometimes you could hurt people if you spell out the truth at the wrong moment, the wrong way, but it does mean that you are not lying, except if it's really, really useful to lie for the welfare of others, of course. Yeah. It's not that you just lie because it's easier for you to make your ways. That's not really a good idea if you want to accumulate merit. But you could lie, like if for example, you see somebody who's coming to hurt and kill, imagine a mother and her child, but you could lie to that person and say he went on the right and actually he went on the left, things like that. That in the Buddhist point of view is completely okay for lying. And also talking too much. As we already talked about that actually in another video, when we talk too much, we just shatter like that for nothing, because maybe the underneath condition is that we are not able to fully appreciate our presence in silence with other people, to sort out this energy that makes you really enjoy also silence, which is a wonderful thing actually. If you can have friendship with people, then that when you're in silence together, you feel good. It's wonderful. But then we start talking, and maybe sometimes we really just talk because it's just a habit. And usually when we talk too much, we always end up doing the wrong the wrong way of using our speech. It always comes out because at one point we don't have so many things to say. So this is the idea. So it's not the idea that if, like, for example, you have a very interesting conversation with a friend, you should not. It's not like that in Buddhism, but it's the idea that if you just talk, just to talk, and at one point the talk is about telling all the secrets of your neighbor or things like that, or complaining about things, and then it can end up that you are making a bad energy for yourself and also for the other person, because you push the other person to also do that. Yeah. And the 3 of the mind is that the fact that you would like to own something that somebody else owns, or to get from that person something, is a kind of jealousy, but of the mind. So that is quite bad emotion that is very important to work with, to find how you can use the antidotes that we will have later to work with that. Because the mind is very important. The mind is the root of all of this. No? The other one is to have wrong views. And wrong views in this case is to not understand what the Dharma is explaining about impermanence, about precious human life, about karma, to not understand how things work truly in relationship to causes and effect, and also in relationship to the practice itself. So it's usually defined by these 2 extremes. The extreme is too much in one side or too much in the other side. No, too much nihilist or too much existentialist. So these are the wrong views, and you have also the pure hatred, and hatred is really a bad thing, no? Because in the first case, you were only wanting to get something that somebody else owns, or maybe getting his girlfriend or her husband or whatever, or the car, or I don't know, things like that. But in the case of hatred, it's like you really want to harm. Even if you just, consume yourself with that hatred, that is very harmful to yourself. Yes. So this is how you do to work with karma. But of course, you can also adopt the eight right path. I don't know in English how to say it, but anyway, I will come back about that. And it's like finding how you can organize your life so that it's seen in 8 parts, no? Your speech is right, your meditation is right, your actions are right, the way you earn your life is right, the way you meditate is right. You see, things like that. So maybe I will come back to that in another video. But now this is like a basic that we can work with in the sense of foundation. Am I really interested in practicing Dharma of the Buddha? Am I going to take refuge? And if I'm taking refuge, am I going to become myself the refuge? This means that I become Buddha, I become Sangha, I become Dharma. This is the goal. But in the same time, as soon as you take refuge, you become a little bit the refuge, because you do become Sangha anyway. And you do have the potential of the Buddha anyway. And Dharma is everything that is in your path that is going to make you become the Buddha and help other beings. So Dharma can take all kinds of forms. Dharma is not only the books or only the teachings. Dharma can be also like saying a mantra to your cat. That can be Dharma. Or maybe you meet somebody of another religion that tells you something that really helps you. So that is Dharma. You see that person is another religion, but he became your guru at that moment. He's like the manifestation of your guru, helping you at that moment with something very useful for you that comes from another religion. So this, in the Buddhist point of view, is completely okay. Buddhist point of view is very much non-violent, but it doesn't mean that you are always honey-like, smiling-like person, because the idea is that you are authentic, much more authentic than trying to look like something, So if you are an authentic person, you will have your way of being smiley or not. Maybe you're not smiley. So don't think that to be a Buddhist, you have to be maybe vegan or things like that. It's not like that. It's more that you understand at one point maybe you're not going to eat meat because you decide that. You decide that you don't want to eat meat for any reason. It's not because in Buddhism you are, for the example, Buddha did not say that. Buddha used to eat only what they give to him once a day. The Buddha himself. So whatever they give to him, if it is not an animal that was killed specifically for him, in this case, he will not take it. So if he comes to a house and they say, oh, I killed a chicken to give it to you, the Buddha will say, no, thank you very much, I will not take this chicken. But if there is leftover of chickens that they ate, and there was some leftovers and they gave it to the Buddha because he was begging, then he will eat it, because he used to eat only the fruit of begging. Yeah. So that was the discipline of the basic life, and only once a day. But you can also at one point decide that you would like to, even you can decide, I want to be vegetarian 5 days a week. And you can accumulate merit like that because you want to spare animals. But it's not that you are becoming militant of this and you tell everybody they should do this, because this is not the Buddhist way of life. The Buddhist way of life is not too much. trying to force people into your way. Yeah, it's more the fact that you understand at one point that your potential is wonderful and that this potential will obviously become helpful to yourself and helpful, of course, to others. And then the fact that you are helping others will make you also evolve more and more into a non-egoistical point of view, until at one moment you have the pure perception, which is the Vajrayana, and then at the end the great perfection, where the fruit is also the path and the fruit is also the ground. So this is more or less the basics. Then we will get into the part of the practice, which will be, of course, the practice with your body. I think the body is really important. So we will go back to the body, and then we will go back to the breath, how the breath and the light, how we see light inside of our mind, and how we receive the light, absorb the light, all this work with the energies, how this coming from the invisible ground of our own mind to the energy that comes to the visible part of our body and others, how we can work with that. Yeah. And of course, there will be a lot things we can still study. Now I think that the next step will be more about the body. And thank you very much. This video was 1 hour and 1 minute and a half.